Hi, I'm Maggie.
Hi, I'm Grace, and this is
A Very Bookish Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to A Very Bookish Podcast. Today is episode 39, and we have a very, very special guest. We have Kayla at Let's Read.
Yes.
Hi, Kayla.
Welcome.
Hello.
How are you today? Oh,
I'm great. I'm having a very good day. I've been very excited for this since you guys asked me on. So
Yes.
It's funny.
Schedule's on my calendar.
yeah, it's funny because we have a set of book talkers that we'll talk about that we'll send a video that somebody puts out and we're we have to have them on. We've had you in our midst for a couple months now, and it's just we plan for 3 months ahead. Right. So it's after that 3 months is up, then we can start getting the next people. So we were great, let's get Kayla. This is amazing.
I'm so excited. Yeah, I've been watching you guys since you pretty much started. So you're my first podcast that I've been on. You've broke my podcast cherry. So
oh my gosh. That's amazing.
I'm so happy with that. I love that a few people have been on and this is their first time ever being on a podcast, and we're just you should be everywhere. We're so honored to have your first.
I know. I think that about when I listen to other people's podcasts, and I'm just I want to see you. I want just to see you talk all the time. Obviously, we have time limits on TikTok, so it's nice to just have a space where people are just able to just talk about a bunch of random shit and just keep kind of going and ranting about things or just talking about themselves, and I don't know, it's fun. It's a different perspective that you get to see from book talkers.
Yeah, especially your audience really wants you to have your own podcast. I nearly mentioned you being on a podcast and the whole chat was Kayla has a podcast, Kayla has a podcast. They were amazed.
Yeah, I basically at this point treat my TikTok like it's my podcast. It's so funny because when I first started, I used to be so cautious about the things that I posted, and I think you feel that way. I'm a very open book, but I wasn't super prominent on social media. And so when I first started on TikTok, I was very apprehensive about posting the things. I didn't talk, it was just sounds, and now I'm to the point where I'm just fuck it, today might be the day where it all comes crashing and burning down. So it makes it a little bit more of a fun ride for sure. So
especially when you start to get banned.
Yeah, at this point I'm kind of, I initially was I have been banned before, but it was, to be fair, it was because I posted something that was basically a quote from a book that was quite explicit. So I was you know what, fair enough. I can't really complain. But the second time I got banned was because I just pissed a bunch of people off. And I kind of made my point, but then I'm kind of moved past that, and now I'm kind of it's a challenge. I'm who can I piss off today? So kind of can't take it too seriously, or else you're going to be sorely disappointed with the
yeah, because at this point it's once you've been banned, that's a badge of honor now. Yeah, that's just a stamp of approval. You were enough to be banned. That's wear that proudly.
I'm so surprised I haven't been banned yet. I have a spicy scene that I posted from Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren, and it's done so well, and I'm so watch me drink this, knock on wood. Yeah, it is knock on your head. But I am so surprised. I definitely have toned down my content, and I wasn't ever making too raunchy videos, but now I'm kind of I'm in the phase where oh no, but then I'm I'm in school. I don't care if I get banned for posting for a day. That gives me a break to actually read.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I felt the same way. I mean, romance book talkers specifically suffer a lot with videos being taken down and then being banned. And shockingly, I felt it was surprising that it took this long for me for that to happen. It's only happened once with explicit romance books type of situation, and then the second time is just because of obviously I went after some people's favorites books, so they
Yeah.
weren't happy,
And
but that wasn't romance related.
And the interesting
Yeah.
thing is, like, sometimes you'll get removed for videos that, like, they'll have, like, either, like, a, like, half-naked man on the cover or something, and you're
Mhm.
just like, it's a photo. And then there's, like, guys who are dancing to songs. I've definitely sent Grace one video, and it's definitely, like, you can tell there's, like, implied, like, sexual content, and it's like these get millions of likes, and you're like,
Yeah.
and it's women talking about romance books.
Yeah.
That's like, what's the most censored on this app? It's like literally you can post a picture. I think I posted a review for this like cowboy smut, and I had to like put a sticker. I remembered to put a sticker on the cover because it's like a cover, and it's like
So I'm gonna describe all covers from now on.
like I definitely thought about doing a series like that where I like describe covers.
Yeah.
Like by just like
Yeah.
but
yeah, you have to. That's so funny.
it's crazy that like even just a photo that you're talking of a book, like a published piece of work, it's considered like adult nudity, and you're like, this man has a shirt on, like it's open, he has a shirt on and he has pants on, it's not at all lewd. So it's just
my theory honestly is not so much like TikTok, like, you know, like the bots that obviously go through and like sift through certain videos which it deems it like inappropriate, but it seems to me more like with romance books or like romance accounts to be mass reporting more than anything. Because if you report a video like enough, like it will always get removed for it to be like evaluated, because they're like, obviously enough people reported this, there must be something to it. So that's what I feel like it's more likely to be, just because it just doesn't like that. Then the algorithm in that case, or like the requirements that the bots go through, just doesn't really make sense to me then. So that's my theory. At the end of the day, like, we'll never really know, but they can't keep us silent forever. We'll just keep coming back.
I definitely think there's like mass reporting, like Karens that are going in and mass reporting books, like mass reporting, because it's like, it's also like sometimes it'll be videos that have been up for like months or like weeks or something, and they get taken down and you get banned, and you're like, and you can't even like respond anymore. They took away that, so you can't even like explain yourself. You just have to put like an thingy and be like, hey, look at this, and they're like, I feel like they just now are just like, no. They don't even look at them anymore, I don't think. And it's annoying because we put in effort, and then like some Karens are like, I don't like this, and it's like, stay in your lane. Or guys, I have a feeling it's guys doing it. But
it's probably both, because honestly, like like I take my job as shitting on men very seriously, but you would be surprised with how many comments I get from other women. I mean, the patriarchy has them by the throat. Oh my God. Like, you know, all the way to people being like, oh, you're gatekeeping romance from men. Like, not you making men out to be the fucking victim. Like, please. I don't know. You'd be surprised. And, you know, I think a lot of people don't realize like how bad, like, of a reputation romance gets half of the time. But like, you just see, like, my biggest thing is like, obviously you have people who say stupid shit all the time about everything constantly. It's the internet, it happens. But the way that like I sort of gauge like the severity of a lot of situations is like the responses that they get from people. And all of these videos that talk so much shit about romance, like obviously we had the whole like people who read romance are fucking addicts, porn addicts, right? All of those videos have like 30,000 likes and like 1,000 fucking comments of just trashing shit, like just like dragging them through the mud. And so I'm just like, I need people to like understand, like when I'm talking about this shit, it's not because I like saw one person with like 200 likes like say something out of their asshole. It's like, you know, half of the community feels a certain way. And it's
so volatile. It's like, it's when it comes to romance, it's either like you you're either like this like nice romance reader, or you're like a cringy romance reader who reads all this like dark romance and like monster romance and stuff. And like Grace and I kind of talked about this in the last episode, but it's like a lot of people have their own preferences when it comes to reading, and that's okay. Like if I don't want to read like, oh, right now I'm reading a lot of contemporary right now, but I read, as you can see, I read a lot of like darker romances. And it's like people on the internet just don't understand that like you can have a preference when it comes to what you want to read, albeit there are a difference between like a preference like, oh, I only want to read white stories. That's a whole different thing. But like a preference of like genre, like I don't want to read a darker romance. I just want to read like a light, fluffy like romance. And it's like some people just don't understand that like you can have that, and it's like okay not to like agree with everybody. And especially with it was the Minotaur one that's been circulating.
Morning Glory. Morning Glory. Yeah.
I was like, oh, maybe I should read it. And then I was like, honestly, I'm not in the mood to read that right now. I'm probably not going to ever read it. Yeah. But I love watching the content from it and people talking about it. But like, I'm not going to start hating on them because I don't want to read it, and I'm probably never going to. It's like, it's also like 14-year-old children who are also, and then like older adults who want to control people, and it's like, y'all just sit down and get off the internet.
Well, I mean, like this just, I mean, it's been from the like dawn of time that, you know, people treat romance readers like we're fucking sex deviants, right? Like it's just like,
I mean, I'm not gonna say it, but
you're like, please.
I mean, my single ass isn't gonna say that, but
what's the sound where it's like my own mother thought I was a
she was right, of course. But it still hurt. Yeah,
oh,
that's exactly it.
Yeah, I just like it's with everything though. Like it's truly, and I notice this so much, and I think it's so ironic because it's not just romance. It's like when people are looking at books, and we're debating on characters and, you know, all of this stuff. I realize like it's so ironic to me, at least, like how little empathy readers have. It's like they will go on, like they will die on the hill of a character that they relate to, but if they can't understand the motivations behind them, because they wouldn't do it, then, you know, they're awful. If nothing is justifiable, it's terrible, whatever. And you see this like in the ACOTAR fandom specifically all of the time. And I
wasn't gonna say it, but yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
You see it all the time, and it's just like, you know, it's like, oh, I'm Farah, oh, I'm Nesta, and it's just like, what are you doing? Like, literally, no, first of all, no, you're not.
Get a life.
Second of all, they're not real. It's like, of course you can relate to characters. Like I relate to Nesta a lot, right? I don't really relate to Elaine whatsoever, okay? But like the way that people will make it their life's mission to like just shit on this character because they don't relate to them, it's just like, you guys, please, you know, if you're calling yourself Farah, like she's like the most empathetic bitch out here.
Exactly.
Like, realize that like that something is not adding up here. I think ACOTAR is like a perfect example of that, but you see it obviously across like all of these like fandoms or like with books and like different genres. If like, you know, you can't relate to it, it must mean that it's bad and you can shit on it. All of these things get used as like a scapegoat to make yourself feel better about stuff. And it's just like, that's my biggest message whenever I talk about shit. It's just like, I'm not here to tell people what they can read or what they can't read. I'm not the moral authority. Like, none of these things. It's just that like I noticed that there's just this huge double standard across the board, whether it's like with characters, whether it's with specific books, whether it's with specific authors, whether it's, you know, specific genres. It's like constantly people put in like the least amount of critical thought and just like run their mouth. And I'm just like, please just stop talking.
Literally. And it's like every single week we get the same conversations. It's literally like every month we're recycling through the same topics over and over and over again. And it's like people, these conversations have we've been talking about these things. We've been trying to get other people to
Yeah.
understand for months. It's been going on for like near almost a year now, and you're
Yeah.
still having the same conversations because you don't want to understand. You don't want to broaden your horizon. You don't want to listen to actual conversations of people. You just want to push out content and automatically shit on something because somebody else did, so you want to hop on the trend to do it as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so irritating because it's just like, we are always talking about how readers can understand people better, and yet we don't want to understand other readers. We do not want to connect with them. We don't really want to see their point of view. We don't really want to have these conversations that will actually, you know, make us think like, you know what, maybe what I said earlier wasn't right. You know what, I've changed, let me change the script a little bit. That's not it anymore. People hate to be wrong and hate to be called out on it, and it's so sad.
I mean, you kind of nailed you hit the nail on the head with when it's just like, it's, you know, 95% of these takes are just to get attention, and it's just to grow like their TikTok platform, because people don't actually give a shit, right? Like, if you actually just like look and think about it for more than fucking 30 seconds, you can figure out that they don't actually care. Because if they did, you know, they wouldn't be talking about something that they don't understand. Like, let's normalize like not having an opinion about everything. There are plenty of things that I don't understand. There are plenty of things that I don't specifically talk about because like I'm a straight white bitch, okay? Like, that's not really, you know, it's not my place to speak on behalf of other people, especially on an experience that I will never have. And it doesn't obviously mean that I don't care, but like learn to just like sit back and listen to people and like understand what they're trying to say. And like, obviously like I can be better at that. Everybody can be better at that. I'm not trying to tout myself as like, I'm like, look at me. I am the example, the prime example. Of course not. Like, but my thing is that like whenever I do ever like speak on something, it's never me giving my unique opinion on something. It's truly just to tell people to stop talking because they come up with something new. You know, they see somebody do a bunch of haul videos and it's like all of a sudden people have spending addictions, you know.
Yeah, that one of those things, like that really like irked me, especially because like I just bought, like the weekend right before I moved, I bought 27 books. Okay, hear me out. I was a Barnes and Noble employee, so I had 40% off. So there's a big difference between like spending like $500 and then buying 28 books for $255. Yes, I'm a queen at saving.
No, I mean, that's the thing. Like, shouldn't even have to like justify yourself. Like, if you spend $500 because you want to spend $500, like, go ahead, and I don't give a shit. Just because I masturbate every single day does not mean I'm like addicted to masturbating.
Yeah,
like, like it's just like people don't know what addiction actually is, and that's what like for me, like that's always been such a like sore point because I obviously have a lot of experience with that, and it just like you seeing somebody buy a bunch of books like that, like in no way is that an indication of
that they have an addiction,
having a spending addiction.
Yeah, it's especially when it's like, well, those books are sitting on the shelf needing to be bought. Like, if I have like if I want to support, like that's how you support an author, is you buy their books. Like, how many authors are sitting waiting for their books to be bought? And it's like, I'm just a book talker and I see a cover that I like and that book might not be getting as much attention, but I buy it and then I read it and I'm like, whoa, everybody needs to read this. And that's how like you support authors. It's like, it's so ridiculous that people are like, oh, you can't buy that many books. And it's like I have the money to spend. I saved up my own damn money. Y'all don't have any say in what I do in my life. My life off the internet, I'm an accountant. I think I know how to handle my own money. Like
and like the claims of like what was the other one? Like you owning a bunch of things makes you a bad person. Like, you know, that one I was like, oh, this is a new one. We're gonna get mad at people for owning books who read. Cute, because that makes sense. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
It's great.
It was definitely just like I feel like Book Talk, there's a certain set of people on Book Talk who just want to start something and who thrive off of starting it. And it's like, and it's now everybody's kind of over it. Everybody's always over like the drama when somebody like comes up with something, and we see majority of book talk like fight back and stuff, but there's
Yeah.
this like subsection of book talk and book Twitter that they just like love to hate on readers, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
aren't y'all readers too? Like,
Yeah.
why are you here if you don't read? And apparently, especially when you were talking about like readers being open and like that's why we read and we're like the most empathetic with people because we read tons of stories about characters. I'm like, readers are the most judgmental people I have
Yeah.
ever met. Like
Yeah.
some readers, my boss, he told me that romance readers were only for housewives who sit around and wait for their husbands all day. He said it as a joke.
You know what you should have said to that?
I was so pissed. I was so pissed.
You know what you should have said to that? You should have been like, well, Game of Thrones and Dunes are for guys that want to fuck their sisters. That's what you should have said.
That would have been the best. That would have been the best response. Except like his like favorite book is The Great Gatsby.
Of course.
If that doesn't tell you
course it
anything about it,
is.
he's
Of
like a
course it
literature
is.
major. But
Right,
it's
the
just
literary bro, right?
yeah, he's a literary bro. And it's like, dude, you look like a worm. Shut the fuck up. I drove up the sales like 300% in my department. Like, shut the hell up and sit your
Yeah.
ass down. But yeah, it's just like that's why I usually log off of TikTok. After I post a video, I'll like scroll through TikTok for a little bit and I'll just log off, and I don't really get a lot of book talk content anymore because like it's sometimes so like just like disheartening, and you're like, I don't want to see this shit. Like
Yeah. I don't normally, I don't really go on my following page like all that much for the same reason. Like my For You page is pretty much curated of people that are off of book talk. But I obviously, make my own content that sometimes does not go over well with certain people. But I did actually, interestingly enough, today, because I'm like, there's so much drama happening today on book talk, ironically. So that's kind of cute for a little podcast episode. But did you guys see the guy that made the video that was basically like, adults who read YA books scare me?
no.
No.
I haven't been on TikTok at all today, so fill us in on the tea.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Yeah, so basically there was this guy, God bless, he's getting drugged all over this community. I mean, as he should. I mean, just like, again, like men just saying stupid shit, right? Like thinking that it's like the moment, it's the hot take of the century. I'm like, no, you're just a moron. Thank you. So basically it was like to a sound, and it was basically like me trying to say, like, he's basically trying to argue that like YA books are like for a specific phase of your life, but like when you're an adult, like you should like you should leave that phase. And then like in the caption he was just like, it's like not weird if like you read some YA books, but like it's weird to me if you only exclusively read YA books. And so he is like I mean, this guy has like maybe like 130 followers. Like he's very new.
Okay.
Similarly to the audiobook guy, did not know what he was signing up for. I know that like he probably filmed that. He was like, oh yeah, I did something. And now it's like everybody is just he like made a video. I didn't get to see it though, but like I am enjoying this. I truly am. I would be lying if I said I did. I'm not. But he tried to make a video that was like defending himself, but then he like removed it, and like I will see how long the initial video of him talking about shitting on YA books lasts. Actually, let me see if it's still up, and I'll save it just in case you guys didn't see it.
Yeah, and it's like, why I saw, okay, there's this like one book talker. He's like a guy. I followed him. Grace will know who I'm talking about. He followed Calvin, and Calvin sent his picture into the group chat, and I was following him for a while, and then he made this like comment. He like made a whole video about people buying like coffee table books and like not ever reading them and stuff, and like books for your coffee table. And he's like, you shouldn't be like, what's the purpose of this? Like, why waste your money on this? And I'm like, I almost posted a video while I was walking to school being like, men need to shut the fuck up and stop putting their opinions about books because they're so horrible out on the internet. And it's like, he said like it was, and a lot of people were agreeing with him in the comments, and I'm like, y'all, like, let people buy whatever books they want, even especially if they're just for a coffee table that aren't gonna be like, it's not just for you, but it's like an aesthetic to like make everything look nice and stuff. And maybe what if they do like flip through it, even if like it's like a $45 book, but let them like live their damn lives, like. And especially if I was really irritated because he was a man, and I was like, sit your ass down.
Every table in my household is stacked with books.
Yeah.
Either my dad's books or it's mine. We have books on every table. The dinner table has at least 2 piles of books that are there. It's a thing, you know? Like,
I love it. Yeah, I think like number one, like I don't like why people give like so much care to what other people do with their lives.
Yeah, like
literally will never make sense to me. Like, you're upset that people own coffee table books. Go outside and touch some grass, please. Like, mind your business. Like, why? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, are you okay? Like, is it like, what is it like to be that so bitter and angry like all of the time? Like,
yeah, it's literally like, it's like go back to like elementary school where it's just like, if you don't got nothing good to say, keep it in that pretty little tiny head of yours and just keep walking. Like you don't need to comment on every single thing. You don't need to start talking about this or that because other people seem to like it. If other people seem to like it, that's their preference. Like, okay, not me, but you do you.
Right. I just don't, it's just like, I don't know why people care so much to begin with. It's like, if it doesn't affect you like at all, I'm like, people like, what the fuck is like a fucking $45 coffee table doing to anybody? Absolutely nothing.
It's the guy who goes to Princeton. It's that book talker. I'm not going to say his name, but it's the guy who goes to Princeton.
Maybe I know who you're talking about, but I'm not.
Yeah. Chris, I'll say his name with a K.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll send him to you after.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send you like screenshots. But yeah, I'll send you the video. But like I looked at his video right now and it's at like 19.1K likes, but like the comments in there, and it's like this girl opening a box of like coffee table books that she got that are aesthetically pleasing. And he's like, this is a nerve that people would spend their monies on books that are just sitting out there. And I'm like,
oh my God, please.
that was the most unattractive thing you could have ever said.
No, and like the thing is, and like I wish, it's also difficult to, right, and I say this with peace and love always, okay? Like, there's nothing wrong with being young. I'm 23, okay? I'm not fucking old. I feel like I'm always touting myself. I'm like, when you're older, I'm like 23 fucking years old. Like, let's not get it fucking confused. But, you know, I've been out in the world. I've lived in a bunch of different places and, you know, have some life experience. I've lived like 500 lives at this point. It's been an interesting ride. And so I see that there's a lot of young people on Book Talk as well. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that like they don't realize either the history of like the literary community and, you know, the absolute shitstorm some of these fandoms are, because we live in this bubble on Book Talk because we see some of the most popular things that are on Book Talk, right? Like which is primarily like YA fantasy, like what that's like pretty much I would argue is probably one of the bigger communities or the face of Book Talk at least. And so I'm just like, you guys, like you have to realize like the literary community, like it can be so pretentious, so elitist, like, oh, you buying coffee table, it's just like, who gives a shit? Or like, you read these books, like, could it be me? Or just any of these books written by men that have like a male dominated fandom will be the worst thing that you fucking encounter and have to deal with. Like, I took on the challenge just because I don't really give a shit, like, because you can't give a shit because like, I mean, they will eat you alive if you do, because they will just say the most vile shit to you and just treat you like you're a fucking moron and like yada yada yada. So, but it's just like, and that was kind of the initial point of talking about the, you know, the videos that I have, you know, talking about Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Dune, The Witcher. I was just like, if we're gonna talk about them, we're gonna talk about them all. Fuck it, bring them all to me. Like, might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone. but I'm just like, I wish like I had this ability to kind of like project that. And that's kind of why I've been making more videos kind of about what's going on. Because I'm just like, I need some of these like people that are in book talk to like recognize, you know, like there are more books, like, and you have to keep the same energy to them. You know, it's like, I get that a lot of us on book talk read books that are written by women, but like that's not like just the book community. Like the majority of books are still written by men. And like just by targeting women and like holding them to a higher standard, it's like not giving what you thought it gave, babe. It's really not.
Yeah.
And like when I say that, it doesn't obviously mean that I'm like, oh, it shouldn't matter, you know, what women do. Of course not. But like we can't just like, it's super easy to just be like, oh, you know, like SJM is just the only problem, and then like let me just go read whatever I want outside of that. It's just like that's not you doing anything. That's just performative. Like performative. Like that's really truly not yeah. And it's I have, interestingly enough, I have this guy, I'm kind of going off on a tangent now, but I posted this video today that was very much like, I've been seeing a lot of men join book talk.
Oh yeah, I saw this video.
Yes.
I saw this video today.
I don't want to say that like they're straight. I don't want to presume anything, right? Giving me very much those vibes though. Okay. And I have a man, like you know, one of my things that I said, I was just like, you know, if you are going to defend Game of Thrones and Dune with your life, like that is a red flag. And I have a man in my comment section who responded to this video and laid out every single thing, just mansplained Game of Thrones to me basically, and was just like, George R.R. Martin isn't a pedophile. You know, he started writing these books in the 90s, so that's why there isn't diversity in them. You know, it's based off of like historically accurate texts. And then just proceeded to tell me, like literally tell me, like, I don't think you understand. Like, you don't understand Game of Thrones. And I was like, you are literally, like, you are quite literally making my point. Like, don't defend Game of Thrones with your life. And you are in my comment section with fucking George R.R. Martin's dick in your mouth.
Oh my god,
like
I'm looking at the comments.
Paid for it. I mean, like unhinged behavior. Like, I'm like, you are a walking red flag, Brody.
Literally.
Brody. What's his name? I'm like, derogatory men. Like, and the worst part about all of this shit is, you know, I'm like trying to point out the double standards. Like, I'm not going to have the argument. And this is the thing that people don't seem to understand. Like, I'm not going to have the argument on whether or not adding incest into your books is like a plot device, whatever, and if that's okay or not. Okay, I'm not having that conversation with people. My point with those videos is the fact that like those themes, which Book Talk would deem incredibly problematic because they deem half of the shit incredibly problematic.
Oh yeah.
Exist in these books and they never get shit on ever. They are just
ever
as like, you know, the absolute pinnacle of our fucking literary community, right? And you know, I was like, okay, pointing out the double standards, people are gonna get this point. And instead it's just people defending incest in books in my comment section. Just like, okay, well, we tried. Some people got it. So I was like, you know, if we get a couple people on board, you know, maybe that helps. But
it's funny
insane
how Cassandra Clare will be like, oh, they talk about the incest in Cassandra Clare's books. And yes, I guess that's a YA book. So of course it's a little weird that in a young adult book you're gonna put incest. But like it's like a whole why aren't you holding Game of Thrones to the same standard? Like the TV show, excellent. The books,
yeah, I got a couple of comments that were similar. It's like, well, Cassandra Clare is a YA author. And it's like, listen, I get it. It is slightly different. I do understand that. But at the end of the day, it still stands that people are dragging Cassandra Clare because they think it's fucking vile that she just has incest in her books, regardless if it was an adult book or not. They think that having incest is morally wrong, which it's like, okay, I'm not going to have that conversation with you. If you think that that's problematic, that's problematic. But then fucking hello, people, like there is an entire fucking genre that's basically fucking just incest because it's high fantasy.
And it's geared towards men, and it's,
of course,
and it's the most popular ones, and it's like, it's always women getting shit on in any of the genres. It's always the women are the ones. And why are we holding only women like so fucking accountable? Like, if anything, we should be holding men more accountable because they're the ones who dominate the publishing industry.
Yeah.
And on top of that, these two books are made into big multi-millionaire shows and movies, and it's just like, this is what we choose. This is the path that we're going on. This is the path that you deem is worthy to walk on, but you won't even look twice over there
because
they
like,
have come on
the Cassandra Clare like quote when I think I have the books and like, but like you always see those videos. It's like every month I get one of those videos where it's like the same quote over and over again, and you're like,
I haven't read it, but I know that quote basically by heart.
Like everybody knows what quote I'm talking about.
Thanks to Anya, I know that quote like very specifically.
And it's like I kind of, just to go into the incest talk, is like it happens. Like I don't think like it's taboo, but I don't think a lot of people realize like how often it actually happens. And it's like it's normal. I think like when a lot of people talk about like problematic things in the world, I think there's a difference between like making it like the sole focal point of like a book and stuff versus like putting it in a book and then in the book recognizing that it's like it's icky. Like it's icky. Like there's a difference between making it like, oh, George R.R. Martin, the Targaryens. Like I recognize that like it's just weird. It's weird, and yes, it happened in history, but it's weird. Like it's
I mean, like, and you also, I mean, like, the thing that absolutely just boggles my fucking mind are when people are like, it's historically accurate. I'm like, they're fucking dragons. What the fuck are you talking about?
Exactly.
Historically accurate? Like, oh, I'm sorry, did I miss something in history class? Like, fuck.
Did I miss the White Walkers somewhere?
People, like, they're dragons. Like,
you miss one day in high school, and you apparently miss a whole chapter where fantasy creatures are apparently real.
Exactly. It's a fantasy book. It's not a fucking historical fiction book. Like it's a fucking fantasy book.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I also you said it so wow. Like there's a difference between including something in your book and then like romanticizing it. Like something being included is not the same as romanticization. And I understand that. But like, you know, there are also, you know, when people are like, oh, well, it's just a part of the thing, whatever. Like again, like, you know, you're supposed to root for like Daenerys and fucking Jon Snow, and she's his aunt, like, and you're supposed to want them together basically, and it's just like, okay, that's fine, you're gonna include that in the plot, whatever. But like whenever I say those things, I think the other thing that like these like so many people cannot get past is the fact that like criticizing something is not the same as saying that you can't read it. It's not the same as being like, oh my god, if you read this, like
you're a horrible person.
You have to like, you know, you're a horrible person. It's like, I don't give a shit what people read. I truly do not give a fuck. If I give a fuck about what people read, I'd be miserable all the fucking goddamn time. Like, I just like, it's just like, do what you need to do. That's fine. People read things for a multitude of different reasons, whatever. But like, the reason I bring up all of these points is the fact that like it's just not even. Like Dune, Game of Thrones, like all of these books, or like, you know, people want to be like, oh, Dune, like one thing that people absolutely, they're like, it's not promoting eugenics, it's not, it's, you know, it's a piece about how these things are bad. It's like Dune is one of the most like cited, I think, I mean, you can fact check me on this, but like I'm pretty sure it's one of the most popular like cited fiction books by like fucking fascist groups, like neo-Nazis. Like those motherfuckers love that book, and you need to sit there and ask yourself maybe why the fuck they like it so much.
Yeah.
Like, hello. And it doesn't mean that I think that if you read Dune, if you like Dune, that makes you a fucking fascist. Of course not. Of course not. But you have to think for a second and like recognize that maybe there are aspects to this that maybe don't sit too right. And that's fine. If you have critical thought and you're a fucking adult, you can do that. You can like something and still recognize pieces that maybe aren't like the best to it. I'm not going to sit there and tell you you can't read something, but don't like sit here and fucking talk to me about how something is problematic and I can't fucking read it and I'm a fucking adult and I'm going to spend my money however the fuck I want to, and then turn around and fucking turn on Game of Thrones. Like, miss me with that shit. That shit pisses me off. Like, oh my God.
It's the double standard of like, and it's always like, it always comes down to like people shitting on like YA and women, and it's like, and it's like these guys who have been in the industry for so long, and it's like it's men who just can't take the tiniest bit of criticism, and it's like you can like something but also like critique it, and it's like and it's like you don't have to be like, oh, I hate this book, but you can be like, I like this book, but there are points in this book where it's like, this is something that probably needs to be talked about. Like, yes, an author is never going to be 100% like politically correct and when they write and stuff, because some authors can't experience certain things that other communities don't, but they can definitely try their best. But it's like, especially authors like George R. R. Martin, who have been writing for 20 plus years, and these books have been out for so long, and it's like, the times have changed. So maybe when you're reading now, you should recognize like, hey, like this is a little sketch. Yeah. It's so
because literally we do that with any of the books that we read,
right?
Yeah,
like that were written back in like the early 2000s or even farther back than that, that are written by women. We're just like, this is not okay. Like when Maggie and I we decided that we were going to read like the J.R. Ward Dark Dagger Brotherhood
Black
series.
Dagger Brotherhood series. Yeah.
And you know, it's like that vampire series, but it's like that very like early heavy leathered vampire.
Yeah.
You know, and even while we're reading it, we're just like, that was not that.
And like the lack of
enjoy the books. Oh yeah, you know, and then you know, but were they enjoyable? Yeah. Were there definitely some moments where I wanted to yeet this book out of my window? Yeah, you know?
Yeah.
But of course, if somebody's going to ask me about it, I'm going to be like, look, honestly, if you were not part of that era, if you don't understand like the type of vibe you're going into by reading these books, you understand what you're getting yourself into. Read it if you want it. Don't read it if you don't want to. I understand both ways. Right. It's up to you. Am I going to tell you? No.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. It definitely is up to like the person, but like it's this idea, especially just on the internet, that like that criticism just is so bad. Like criticism is just viewed as bad either way. Like even if it's a good criticism or if it's bad, it's like, and that's why during my book reviews, I always try to be like, okay, this is one part that I didn't like enjoy the book. And like, cause I always feel like the miscommunication trope, everybody hates it. I have a love-hate relationship with the miscommunication trope. Or like there are certain parts, like there was a book that I read and I was like, this felt a little weird to me, and I put that in my review, and I'm like, just letting you know, like this is something that felt weird to me, and I criticized it, but I'm like, but I still enjoyed the book, but I'm just pointing out some things that are like iffy, and it's like, that doesn't take away that I liked the book or I enjoyed it. Like we can all say that like Sarah J. Maas, there's so much criticism for Sarah J. Maas, but then like you love Crescent City, it's one of your top reads on our thingy, and it's like you can still criticize somebody and hope that they do better, because that's the point of criticism, is that they can, well, Sarah J. Maas doesn't even run, I'm pretty sure doesn't even run her own social media accounts, so she doesn't see any of this. I think that's what's the main point a lot of people don't know, is like she doesn't run her account, somebody else, she takes the photos, yes, but somebody else runs it, or she'll get on like her Instagram lives, but like she doesn't see the criticism, and that's on her team and stuff. But criticism is to help people grow, and there's this ultimate cancel culture, especially in the book talk community. We've seen it where there are points where it's just like, you're wrong, you're just wrong, but then there are opinions where people have, and you see people flood their comments with hate, and it's like, no, they're just giving their opinion, albeit some of them are like homophobic, racist opinions, and those are wrong, but then they're literally somebody just telling like the Gwenriel versus like,
no, literally that's what we're talking about. It's just like just a non-issue sort of opinion, but somebody's going to take it to heart. Just like fucking,
it's like
them in.
If you pick the wrong side of whatever fandom it is, it's literally like you're shooting their dog right in front of them and then running it over. It's like,
no, because it's so true.
Come on,
they take
guys.
it so to heart.
Serious?
And then they like post about it on like Twitter. Like Twitter is a cesspool. That's why
Twitter is. I will never ever step foot on book Twitter, because that is just like that's like going into like a cockpit fight and like being like a little chickpea. I'm just like, hey guys, hi.
Like your ray of
everybody just jump on.
sunshine.
Yeah, everybody just comes in and attacks.
I'll join book Twitter when I want to hate myself.
Like, yeah.
Like, I will not, like, I won't even be on Twitter. Like, I can't. I'm like, TikTok is already fucking enough for me.
It's
like,
enough.
People,
but that thing that you said about like, you know, criticism is like, you know, a way for people to grow. I saw this like because I'm on like relationship TikTok as well, you know, like,
oh, so cute. Okay,
I love that. And so I do see like a lot of like people like breaking down relationship and things like that. And like I saw a video yesterday that was literally saying that one thing. It's just like, yeah, you want to back up like a person and you want to like agree with them, and yeah, you're in love and blah blah blah, whatever, right? But then there are moments where you're at a crossroad where it's literally like you either check them and like tell them that's not okay, or they're just going to keep on going and they're not going to get better. And it's just like, no, we don't want people to keep going down like this self-destructive path of like them not being able to see anything outside of their like little tunnel vision. We want people to get better. So we're going to be like, hey, that wasn't okay. You need to do better. This was not acceptable. This is the standard that you need to be reaching, you know? But then that bar needs to be the same for every single fucking person. It can't be just like, oh, you know, for this little group, we're going to set this standard, and for over here, it's like 10 miles up higher. It's just like, come on, dude, like do better.
I notice this a lot. And I won't go into like a lot of detail because I don't want to like start shit, but I see this a lot with like communities that have made like the most effort to do better. And it seems to me like they get the most shit.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is just like, I'll give you a very vague example because it didn't happen to me. I don't want to throw somebody under the bus because maybe they don't want to talk about it. But, you know, I see people, you know, talk a lot about like diversity and their representation and like in their community, for example. And it seems to me like in those instances, it's still never going to be enough. Like there's still people like upset with them, like in the comment section. And then it's just like, oh, this isn't enough because you did like, you have to add this and you have to do this and you have to do this and you have to do this. And it's like, I get it. Like, I get it. Like we want to be holding people, you know, and we can offer them suggestions, be like, hey, this is actually better if you do it this way, whatever. But then you don't ever see that shit in any other groups, for example. So like you just have all these other people and like, this is what I mean. Like you have this with like women and men. It's like, we expect men to do shitty things. So we just don't hold them accountable ever. Cause we're like, oh, well, they're men. They do that. It's like, no, you don't just get a pass because they're a piece of shit. Like, that's not how it works. Like you still have to like, if you're going to criticize people, it's like you have to criticize everybody equally. And it seems to me like the people who do actually try to like take that criticism and like grow from it, then they are just inviting in like the most criticism, but then that criticism doesn't go to anybody else. And it's just like, it's just not even. And I'm like, that isn't really, you're just like hurting yourselves at that point because then nobody wants to partake in any of this. Like,
and like that's kind of like a thing that I'm like starting to get it like kind of irritated with, but not really irritated, but it's gonna get there someday, very soon probably, where it's just like, yes, we do not like men who like try to like tell us how we should be or blah 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 and all of these things that we know how men act, right? But then it's at the same time, it's just like, oh, well, you know, he's going to do that. Just let him be and just like, don't even hold him accountable. It's just like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
If we want to actually have an impact on like future generations, we have to hold men accountable. We have to hold women accountable for setting a standard and then like following through with it. We have to set the same standard for men and for them to follow through with it.
Yeah,
you can't just be like, oh, men are shit, I don't want to deal with them, let them just stay over there on that corner. Like, no, babe, you're gonna be in you're gonna interact with men, you're gonna need to, that's more than half of the population, like, you know, we have a lot of them, we got to deal with them, but it's up to people
I
like
still like
us,
them, unfortunately.
I'm gonna call myself out. I do like men,
Yeah.
unfortunately, sad to say.
Grace, are you coming out to me?
I think it is time
Yeah.
See,
but
that's why I go both ways, so I have a choice. I have a choice.
You're like, they're pissing me off.
I'm not stuck. I'm not stuck.
But it's just like, if we want men to do better, we have to hold them accountable. We have to tell them like, that's not okay. You need to do better. And, men who are willing will do, and they will listen, and they will. A majority will not, but let's focus on saving those few select ones that, will hold it out for us. And then, we'll be like, okay, you did pretty good. Let's be very selective on the male lines that we're taking into the next generation, right?
Right. I think the other thing that also like sometimes like frustrates me is like when people are like, oh my God, they're so amazing. It's like, nope, they're doing the bare minimum.
Yeah,
We're not,
bare minimum.
And
let's do a little better.
Right. And it's just like, for me, it's just like a mutual respect thing. Like there are, of course, like male book talkers that I love. Like Rev is like one of them. Like he talks a lot. He hasn't posted in a while, but he talks a lot about Ice Planet Barbarians. And I love and that's the thing. And I think that what a lot of people don't tend to understand is the fact that like, when I'm talking about this sort of stuff, it's like, and we're talking about like romance, it's just like, I'm asking you to just show us respect and like you'll get it in return. Like that's all I'm asking. And not when you make a video being like, oh, like I'm gonna have a hashtag girl boss moment, like being super fucking demeaning, or not like properly rating romance books. I've seen that happen before where guys will just like give it like, it'll just be like a spicy chili pepper instead of rating it out of 10 like the rest of the books. And it's like, it's small stuff. Like I get it. Like it's not the end of the world, but it just is playing into this thing that we've talked about over and over and over again. And that's why like, with Rev, like he just reads the books and talks about it. And he's just like, yeah, I liked this and this was fun. And like, it's just like, you guys don't have
bare
to do it. It's
minimum.
Like, I'm not asking you to like, jump through a ring of fire, while juggling like 8 balls at a time while reciting the national anthem. Like, I'm just asking you to just be respectful. It's okay if you don't like romance books. That's totally fine. There's a lot of book genres that I don't like, but that doesn't mean that I think that they're bad because I don't like them. Like, what kind of shit is that? What does that even, what does that say about you? It just like, feel like it makes people seem so like it shows how self-centered people are.
Really?
Like the world revolves around them. It's like, oh, I don't like something, so that means that it's bad. It's like, yo, that's not how it works.
And it's really sad because it's just like you'll get that one male book talker who is doing the bare minimum, right? And then you'll get like a whole bunch of people like, oh, here's another one. And we're just like, hold on, guys.
Yeah.
Let's take a second. And let's look with our eyes first, and then you can, because like we've gone through that thing of like, there's these guys out there who end up making like a book review, or they end up reading a book, or they end up picking up something, or they end up getting fan casted as something, and then
I know where this is going.
They go on, they read the books, they enjoy it, they talk about them, and then you get so many people shitting on them, and it's just like, let the dude live, okay? He's not doing anything bad to us. He's not tearing us down. He's not being a terrible person. He's literally just being, and you guys want to shit on him because of like all these other people who have done it wrong.
I'm gonna call the exact situation is Garrison Dunn. He was the one who was fan casted as Garrett Graham by L. Kennedy, and like and like a lot of, so basically he just posted a video yesterday, and on book Twitter they were like talking about one of his videos because somebody sent him like a Garrett Graham like t-shirt and stuff, and there was all of these comments, and like people were quote tweeting this, and they were like, I would like off myself in front of him, and like all of this like disturbing stuff like on book Twitter. You're saying stuff about him, and like they were like, who gave this man like a platform? And like the thing is, like, he had a platform before he like put a video, and Book Talk was the one who brought him in. Like, I think a lot of people forget that, like, Book Talk was the one, like, girls on Book Talk were the one who, like, told him to read this book. He read the book, and then he's getting shitted on because he actually understood the book. Like, we did an episode with him, and he took notes.
Look, he literally knew more about the book than we did when we did the episode. Like, when we were talking, he's just like, oh yeah, and then this scene, and how, like, the dynamic of the relationship, like, you know, she's feeling, and this was the first time that she actually trusted him. And I was like, you're right. That was the first scene. And I was like, I totally forgot about that, you know? And it's something different from a guy who's, like, you know, gets thrusted into Book Talk and then, like, tries to run away with it or something. But dude actually was, like, curious about it. He actually read it. He was just like, you know what? I'm having fun with it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And we're going to see where it goes. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But people were shitting on him so bad, and now they're, like, attacking his friends and, like, sending them death threats. And it's just like, okay, like, you're making these fake accounts to come and attack somebody for literally just enjoying something that you told him to read.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, like, you, like, go,
you can never
do
win
something else.
You can never win
never
in the internet.
And that's the thing, because, like, I've talked about this with other people. I haven't made an actual video about it, but, like, that's something that, like, also really pisses me off, because it's just like, listen, do some of these men, like, these, like, mediocre looking white men, just get away with getting super large platforms and, like, doing the absolute bare minimum? Like, they hold up a fucking book and then they're all of a sudden at, like, 150,000 followers. Yes, that's not a reflection on them, babe. That's a reflection on you. Like, you doing that, you're the problem. If
they're playing the game, they're playing the system.
It's just like them just making a video and putting the least amount of effort into something, and then you rewarding for that. That's how men thrive. Yeah. Like, that's how it's just like, it's not, I'm sorry that he fucking was born with a dick. Like, it happens. There are men that exist in the world. Like, I don't, you know, opposed to whatever, you know, everything that I've said. Yeah, I give them shit because a lot of the times they won't, like,
they say stupid shit.
But yes, like, at the same time, it's just like, I'm not over here, like, you know, don't actually genuinely hate them for just existing. Like, and I think that some people truly do, and yet will, like, have the most to say about stuff like this. And it's just like, that's not a result of them. That's a result of all of these girls who are going over. And I honestly, because this is something that I feel very strongly about, I think it's fucking disgusting, like, how some of these girls treat them. Because we always talk about how we shouldn't objectify women. We shouldn't, you know, treat women like they're these objects, and that it's not okay when you do that to a man either. Like, it's not like, oh, the rules are reversed, like, it's fine. Like, no, it's not okay. You going and knowing that somebody has, like, a girlfriend, and then being like, oh, like, I would let you fucking raw dog me in his comment section, like, that's not appropriate. Like, what are you doing?
Especially when you're underage and you're saying
oh
that.
My god, I know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's so. And, like, I think that, like, sometimes people will use the fact that it's like, oh, well, I'm a girl, so, like, this happens to me, so it's, like, fine. It's like, no, it's not. It's not okay. Like, just because something happens to you doesn't mean that it's okay for you to go off and do it to other people.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's like, it's like literally telling somebody, like, oh, like, you know, I was sexually assaulted, so I'm definitely going to go out and do it to someone else. It's just like, babe.
Right. No, like, you want to improve society. Stop the behavior.
We want to do better. We want to, for the betterment of society, we need to do better. But then we have to start with ourselves. We have to look in. We have to be like, is this really, I'm expecting this from other people, but am I doing it myself?
Yeah. And I definitely think that there's a difference between the guys who will pose with a photo of a book, or, like, pose with a book and, like, make that kind of content where they're kind of baiting people into thinking they might have read, but, like, they're baiting a lot of girls, and it's a lot of, like, younger girls who are giving them all this thing, versus, like, a guy like Garrison or Rodney or Reese who actually read the book and talk about the book. And then, like, Garrison more is like a cosplay of Garrett Graham kind of thing, where he, like, acts like the character because Book Talk has fan casted him as Garrett. And it's like, it's I think when it comes to, like, those videos that Grace was talking about, like, men coming on to Book Talk and then, like, like, all of us being like, no, you don't belong here kind of thing. It's like, it's definitely a case by case basis where there are some guys who like you're like no, and then aka like the YA guys who shit on like other book communities and
Right.
stuff
It's
versus like somebody
Yeah.
who is actively
yeah.
somebody who's like actively trying to be a part of the community. And it's like
Right.
we can't just generalize men because we don't want to be
Yeah.
generalized either, so we can't start doing it back to them.
Right.
Exactly. It's kind of like those things of like, you know, when you're scrolling through your For You page and, you know, you come across a video of somebody, whoever it is, and you like the content, you're like, okay, that was a good video. You like it, you keep scrolling. And then a couple of days later, you see another video, and then you see another video, and you're just like, you know what, I've seen this person a lot. I like the content. Let me go ahead and follow them. But no, you got the other side of the spectrum where it's just like a girl sees a guy holding up a book and it's just like automatic follow. It's just like, but then you complain that there are these men who get hundreds of thousands of followers.
Yeah.
And it's just like the dude has like maybe 3 videos and you're just like,
Yeah.
do you actually like the content that you are following? Like that,
Yeah.
that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, you know, like I think all of us have said, like most of our For You pages are not book talk, because it's just like book talk is getting so overflooded with like all these hot takes, and it's just like, when are we actually just gonna read and recommend another book?
Yeah.
Like,
Or
can we get
just
back to
make
that?
fucking funny videos that like aren't, you know, shitting on other people for liking certain
Literally.
things.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm like, you can read and you can do like whatever you want. It's like the only time I'm ever gonna have a problem with you is if like you're just doing something that is just like shitting on other fucking people and not holding people like to the same standard. You know, it's like, and if you're not going to be willing to like recognize that, then like you're probably part of the problem.
Yeah.
And like if you're getting like upset about things, I say this all the time, it's just like, if you're trying to justify to me in my comment section, then I'm like, that if the shoe doesn't fit, then you shouldn't be upset. You should only be upset if the shoe fits. So if you think that this doesn't apply to you or you don't do that, then congratulations, you have nothing to worry about. Then this isn't about you. But the fact that you feel the need to defend yourself is probably a good indication that there's something that rings a little true to what I'm saying and something that you do. And it's just like, that's on you to figure out, because like, I'm not going to spoon feed you everything all the time, because at the end of the day, like, I'm not like over here trying to police what people are doing or what people are saying. Just like mind your business. That's all I really care about.
It's like, literally like that sound of like, oh, because it's disrespectful to you, but it's no, because it's this to you, okay? Like
calm down. Stop the superiority complex. Like, just sit down.
Literally.
Let women live and just get out of our damn business.
Especially, exactly. And it's just like, obviously, you know, there's a reason why a lot of women in the book community are wary of men really entering. And it's because traditionally they have been the ones to shit all over the things that we like to read. And something that I think is like something that people don't talk about nearly enough is that we have this like ranking system of like world building and like plot and the things that they explore and like yada yada yada, and like we value like violence and like thrillers and mysteries and like, you know, wars and all of this jazz. And it's just like, okay, yeah, like I definitely think that there's a space for that, cool. But like, just because romance doesn't fit into that category doesn't mean that it's not valued. It's just like intimacy, relationship dynamics, and like all of those things, like those are still integral parts of our society. You just don't think that they're valued because they're more inherently feminine traits. That's why you don't like it. That's why I will die on the fucking hill that the majority of people who hate romance are shitting on it and saying that it's not a good genre because they're misogynistic. Like, you don't have to necessarily want to read those books. That's cool, but don't take away the fact that it doesn't, like, that it has a place in our in the community. Like it's the most popular genre for a fucking reason. And I always find it the most, it's just like you're biting the hand that feeds you, because romance like funds all of these other genres, and it's just like, sorry Gary, your book wouldn't have even been fucking published and marketed without these romance books. So maybe you should have put a little bit more respect behind the name Gary. Fuck.
It's very interesting, especially with like the rise of book talk. This summer, I know for Barnes and Nobles, the romance sales has increased like 300%. Like, and already romance is a big genre,
Right.
but the fact that it grew even more, I mean, you have like this generation, like us, like 20 to 25, who are starting to like get into romance now, and it's like it's so, especially when like going back to what my boss said to me, it's like men just like needing to feel better about themselves. And so
Yeah.
they want to shit on something that's doing well because they can't get it in their own genre. And it's like you have to read a book that's 20 plus years old as your favorite book because you have no good books right now versus us who are like romance authors. I mean, I'm not saying that like there's not any fiction or other books that aren't good, but like just go with my story.
Yeah, no,
But, like,
I get you.
yeah,
I get you.
but it's like why do men feel the need to shit on women? It's such like a power dynamic because men just feel so insecure that women can get satisfaction and they can get that like relationship fulfillment from books. Like,
Mm. Well, you know what it is? It's because men cannot possibly fathom something in this world not being made for them.
yeah,
That's what it's about. And so
Yeah.
they don't get it. And I'm like, you're not supposed to get it.
it's not
Jim.
for you.
It's not
It's not for you.
It's
Yeah.
not for you.
Like, and it's just like, and that's at the end of the day, like, you know, it's like, cool. I think that like there have been some men who have been really open with me, like in my comment section being like, no, like I really like your stuff. And like, I'm more open to like trying these sort of things. And I think that that's really fucking cool. Like, I truly do. Like, if you're going to go in with an open mind and like, yeah, like I think that there's, you know, a demand of course, like, for example, I like to use Rev as an example. I hope he does not mind that I'm talking about this. I love you if you're watching. But he's very like, you know, there's a difference between him growing relatively fast because of the books that he's talking about, because we get to see a different perspective. Normally we see women's perspective all the time, but having a man's perspective in the romance genre is still really interesting, especially when you're doing something like, you know, respectfully. And so it's like, of course, you know, and it's something that's oversaturated with women, you know, if you're one of the few men that are in that category, you're going to get popular fast. And that's not because I'm like, oh, the patriarchy. It's like, no, it's because it's like a different perspective in something that's actually genuinely really interesting to see how men perceive these things once they give it a fair chance. Because a lot of these romance books, you know, we don't really talk about it that much, but like they take on these topics like men, you know, experiencing rape, or men having emotional vulnerability and like effectively communicating their emotions. And so it's like, even though yes, like it's women, you know, written by women for women, there's still a lot of things that I think that like men can really learn from those types of books, especially because they've been taught their whole lives to not be like that.
Yeah.
And for me, like, you know, although we were talking about prior that like, you know, a lot of readers lack a lot of empathy, ironically, I think that like books still do have the potential to allow you to grow your empathy and learn different perspectives as long as you're open to it.
Yeah.
For me, like that's been a huge thing over the past year of me. I'm like, things that I wouldn't even think about, I'm like, oh shit, like that's really interesting. I wouldn't even thought about it that way. So there's still something that
that's like a big thing of like certain books that I like reading. Like I love reading from like the male point of view in like books, because it's just like yes, it's still written by a woman, but like the fact that a man could still feel like this, a man could still have all of these emotion, all this vulnerability inside, all this doubt, and like, does she love me, does she not, you know, kind of like that battle within, and then like all of the other things that they have to deal with, you know, it's still there. It's not effectively communicated, and that's like something that like, you know, it's been for years and years and hundreds of years that men have not been able to, or have been taught how to effectively communicate those emotions, or how to actually communicate with women and other people, you know. And that's why I love reading like books with those point of views, because it's just like, he could feel like this, you know. And then like reading it from like having a guy's perspective on those things, and it's like really just like, well, we do feel like that, we do talk like that. And like I know my brother's gonna hate me for this, but like I do like often talk over like some scenes with him or things like that with him, and he will like give me his like little thing, you know. He'll be just like, well, yeah, of course the guy's gonna feel like that because this and that, and you know, and we want to be able to understand that, because majority, yes, we are frustrating and we don't like that, but there those men who need to learn, who want to learn how to communicate, yeah, pick up a romance book and it's there for you. It's literally a manual. Like, go ahead.
Literally the plot to the romance book club. Literally the plot to the romance book club.
No, genuinely. Yeah.
Like,
no.
that's actually like the plot is men reading romance books.
Like,
I love that. It's Grace and I literally talked about it in the last episode, because it's like, it's because it's such a funny concept, because I literally had a coworker, a male coworker, and he's like asked me like, what romance book should I read? And it's because he knew I like love romance and I like talk about romance a lot, and he's like, if I was like getting into romance and stuff, like what book would you want me to read? And I was like, wow, like I've never had a guy ask me that. But I worked in a Barnes & Noble, and I had a guy like ask me for the newest J.R. Ward book. And he's like, I love J.R. Ward. I love the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. And it's like this old, like 70-year-old man with his wife, and she's reading like Bridgerton. And he's like, yeah, I love J.R. Ward, like the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. I'm going to go on to the next one after this. And I'm just like, can you marry me? Like,
literally, like, I forgot who it was. Oh, I have to find out who it was, but somebody commented on her video and was just like, do you have any romance recommendations, because I want to understand women better. And I was just like, we love men who just
take the initiative.
And it's just like, because listen, at the end of the day, the patriarchy doesn't just hurt women. It hurts all of us.
It hurts all of us.
And it's just like, it sucks. And they piss me off. Don't get me wrong. They piss me off still.
Oh, yeah, they do.
I will keep my eyes on you. I will keep my eyes
watching.
Yeah, exactly. But like, at the end of the day, like, something always has to give. Like, you have to, it's like shit or get off the pot. Like, you have to, it's like, I can be angry and I can block them out as much as I want, but at the end of the day, like, I do still try to put effort into the men that are, who aren't trying to die on the hill of George R.R. Martin, but are the ones that are like, oh, well, like, what about this? And it's like, okay, if I can just take like 5 minutes out of my day to explain this thing to him, maybe he'll have a different perspective, and maybe it'll push him just a little bit further to trying something else, and that will, lead to this whole other fucking world, whatever. And it's just like, if I could just do that part, even though it's not necessarily my job, like, I don't need to do it, but it's just like, at the end of the day, like, I can't exclude men from the conversation either, because like, we all have to get better. Me saying that I hate them the whole time isn't going to change anything. As much as I wish
it's literally like you getting mad at like a puppy, like you're potty training them, and you're getting mad at them because like they're peeing everywhere, right? You're just like, oh, you do everything, and then literally, if you don't teach him where to go, how to actually go forth and relieve himself, poor little puppy's gonna be like, well, I can't take a step anywhere, because anytime I take a foot out of my box, I'm going to get yelled at. Anytime I move this way, it's going to be like, no, give him some options.
Yeah.
Let her know, here are some other options. This is not okay. Here's a whole other list. It's the same conversation that we had with people with diversity and POC characters way back, and it's just like, oh, but you need to diversify your bookshelf, and you need to read more POC main character led books and POC authors and all of these things, right? But then as soon as then you tell them, oh, you shouldn't be reading these white cis books. Okay, so what other books do you recommend? Like, what should I read? Oh, but you should know. Well, obviously they don't. So let them know. Here are some options to start off with, and then you go forth and you continue down that path. Okay. It's literally having a conversation and letting those who are willing to be open to that conversation continue it on, and then go forth and live differently.
Yeah. And it's like, I get people's plight, because it's like, at the end of the day, it's incredibly frustrating. It's like, I think there are so many men that it's just like they've been so coddled their entire life and things have been set up for them that they just, you know, they don't have to put in a lot of effort, or like they look for people that will treat them like they're like I'm their fucking mom, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, that's not my fucking job. That's super fucking frustrating. But at the end of the day, like the world isn't fair. Like the world is built up this way and it fucking sucks, dude. It so sucks. But like nothing is going to change unless I put in a little bit of effort. And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't have to do that, but I do, because that is how the world is built at the moment. So for me, like, you know, when I'm having that conversation with men, it's just like, yeah, it's because the patriarchy exists. So you know, I'm not going to sit there and I'm not going to give in and coddle you the whole time, but like, I'll, you know, put in more effort to, you know, be like, I'm not going to talk to a 3-year-old. You need to tell me how you feel, like, and communicate how you feel to me. Like, you don't punch fucking drywall, like, use your words. And that's like such a big fucking things that guys do. And it's because they're told that they're not supposed to feel things. And so that all just like combusts into anger, especially when they get drunk and they just like punch things. And it's just like, you're feeling a lot of emotions and you're overwhelmed. That's why you're lashing out. That's why you need to learn to go to therapy. Like, you have to like, you know, talk things through if we're an adult. And I think for me, I think the biggest thing with having these conversations is like, obviously change doesn't happen overnight, but hopefully you're going to start to see the biggest change when we're having these conversations when people start having kids and stop coddling their sons. And you have to use your emotions, or you have to, you know, you have to
tell me what you're feeling. You have to. I've seen a lot of those videos on TikTok of like, I was on parenting TikTok for a while.
I was too.
Like a lot of like, I think her name is Amanda After Hours, and she's like 2 little girls, and that's what she tells her, like, yes, they're girls, but she's like, tell me what you're feeling, like, tell me why, what are you feeling right now, and why is that making you feel that way? And it's like this like understanding that like men have never had that in their life, where they've never like been able to like, and that has to deal with the patriarchy and this toxic masculinity. And it's like this idea of letting children like express how they feel and giving them like a safe space, I think is definitely going to be able to change the way like men are in our future. And it's like, and I think men are starting to like, there's still so much toxic masculinity, but there are a lot of men who are starting to realize like it's okay to be like vulnerable. And that's why we love men written in romance books, is because a lot of them do end up being very vulnerable, and you get to see that vulnerable side. And that's why romance is so addicting for women. It's because men aren't doing it in real life, so we have to get it somewhere else.
Right.
A prime example of this, of like a man who I always think about, like that was like definite like a man written by woman energy, is Justin Baldoni, and he was on Jane the Virgin. He also directed 5 Feet Apart, and he has a book out called Man Enough, and it's basically like he has a TikTok too. He has a podcast, and like his like whole mission is basically like teaching men how to be men, and how to also get in touch with their emotional side, and being able to have conversations, being able to talk and communicate. And being a man is more than just being like this overly masculine, like toxic, like man. It's more than that. It's about being in touch with people. It's about connecting with people. It's about so much more than that. And like, he's like the prime example of like what's possible when you teach men and you have a conversation with men who are able to communicate these emotions that are built up over years and years, you know. And like, you know, everybody's just, like you said, like it's not your job to coddle these men and to teach them, right? But a 5-minute conversation with someone where they're like, where a man is actually been like, wow, no one's ever asked me to explain what I feel. No one's ever like had this with me. Those 5 minutes will change the course of like how they have conversations with other women. And it's just a little part. Like you can do like a quick little pin drop of something and move on. That's it. But it's just that little piece that you can give a man, and the same thing that you can give to younger women. This is what is acceptable. This is how we should move forward. Take that with a grain of salt, move on, add to it, give it to somebody else. You know, we're passing on this knowledge of how to live our lives and how to communicate with people and how to connect with people. And down the line, when people start having kids and people start teaching and molding minds of the future, we're starting to see change. You know, yes, it's going to be a very hard pushback right now, because we're still trying to shake off all the patriarchy from before, but like, we're taking steps forward. We have become aware. Now let's put that into implementing it into conversations with men, with women, and so that it goes on forward, so that now we're different. It's not going to be like 50 years from now, it's going to be like, well, you know, we're still the same, men are still doing, you know, it's not going to be like that, because hopefully well,
I mean, look at the past 50 years. I mean, so much has changed.
So much
has changed. Obviously it's not enough. Like, if there was we got some things
still got
but obviously there's been a huge change from the past 50 years for what it was 50 years ago with men and women, for sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
It starts somewhere.
But
somebody's got to start it off. Somebody has to start the ball rolling, and it's not just one specific ball that has to go.
Yeah,
we gotta slowly, a whole bunch of people need to start changing.
Yeah,
and it takes every little one of us has to do something.
Yeah. And like the comment that, like, you know, that I saw in this other video that was just like, oh, you know, like, what romance book should I pick up to understand like women better? And it's just like, I'm curious to know, like, because like for me, it's like, of course you're gonna see, you know, what women value in like their relationships, because obviously what's desirable. But like, I think that like with that, you know, you can learn so much about yourself, because you're obviously experiencing all of these emotions, but then seeing how these men are then or these male characters are then articulating themselves in like in a manner that like works. So it's just like, for me, I think that there's a, you know, it obviously doesn't have to just be like romance. I think that like you can obviously still have characters like that in other genres. I think that it's just so prevalent in romance because it's written by women for other women. And, you know, these women give these men like these very in-depth storylines and like character development. Whereas like the reason why, you know, a lot of women don't read a lot of like high fantasy, and that's starting to change. A lot more women are starting to read fantasy. I think it's a little bit more than men now, but like, you know, because women are just tits. I mean, that is their entire character. They're like, her breast quivered. I'm like, what emotion is that? Scary.
That's like the first line in The Witcher, isn't it?
The Witcher, please. Her tips graced his mouth, his nose, and his eyelids. I'm like, I can't.
Isn't that based off of a game? Isn't it a game first and then books?
No, it's the books, and then it's the games, and then the show. And like, mind you, when I talk about all these things, I think people forget, like, I love the Witcher TV show.
The Witcher TV show?
I do.
I love me some. I'm like, my fucking feminism, and when I see Henry Cavill in leather pants goes
out the window.
No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, not really. But
are you though? You're not really kidding, are you?
But I love Lord of the Rings. Like, I love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Star Wars. I love Star Trek. I love, you know, I don't really like Game of Thrones, but that's just a personal thing. Like, it's just not really for me. But like, you know, with all of these things, it's just like, again, like you can still like love all of this stuff and still recognize, like, you know, me being a woman. And I think that people, and this is what I think a lot of people of color argue a lot as well. It's just like when people are like, oh, like when white people are like, oh, I just don't really relate to that. It's like, hello, first of all, second of all, like, we've been forced to just read your books all the time, and we're able to do that. And so you should be like, what's not giving? And I think it's the same when it comes to like men and women, right? Because like women, we like to read all these books too. Like, just because, you know, the Game of Thrones is obviously written for men, by men, still a lot of women enjoy Game of Thrones and love Game of Thrones, despite all of the violence against women. And
Literally.
It's like you can still like recognize that shit though. And so it's just like, there's not an excuse the other way around, right? Like, yes, it's not written for you, but that doesn't mean that you're not capable of
Yeah, exactly.
it's just, you know, what we deem as something that's like good or not is very skewed to fit like a male perception of things, you know. So
Definitely.
that's the hot
So
take there.
I kind of wanted to shift really quickly to kind of wrap this up, to kind of go off on a lighter note.
Yeah, I've been like ranting this whole time. I'm so sorry.
we all have one. It's fine. So currently, what are you reading? What are you excited to dive into? What is the newest?
Look at that face. She's like, oh, can I tell you?
What's the newest?
Not only do I rant and rave, but I do still read very often.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know.
So
you own books?
Yeah, I do. It's so crazy. So funny enough, one of the books that I put in my top 3 of my favorite books, I'm still reading, which is A Heart of Blood and Blood and Ashes.
Yeah.
I still have like 50 pages left to go. But it's like phenomenal. I highly recommend it. It's a little bit dark, so you obviously need some trigger warnings, let me know. But nothing too extreme. But the next book series that I'm actually going to pick up is the Plated Prisoner series, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous because I've heard that is really dark, like very. I'm not somebody who gets like triggered very easily by things, but I know a lot of people who also are like me that are like, I had to put it down. Like, so I'm very excited to read it because I've heard really great things. Mm-hmm. So those are kind of my two little tidbits there.
2 little tidbits. Yeah.
I have heard of that one, and like I am tempted and yet scared to read it.
Yeah,
but it's
I'm
also like
the bookish box edition.
I know, because the way that like I was literally about to throw down $115 on something I haven't even fucking read, but I'm like, it's gonna be pretty.
That's why I buy it. I have if I ever like, this is a joke, but if I have an addiction, it's like to special edition books. Like that is my addiction. If like I see like a book series, the fact that I haven't even read it, but I know I'm gonna like it because all my friends who like,
pretty.
I know it's gonna be hella pretty. Like I didn't get the Bridge Kingdom one because I actually just got them in like paperback. Yeah. But like I can't wait for this one because it's like an adult fantasy and they don't do adult books. And so I'm like really excited for it.
I know. I'm really excited. I'm really hoping to see like a switch in to doing, and I think that we'll start seeing a lot more of that because of Book Talk and like how popular we've seen.
Fairy Loot just did that. Fairy Loot started an adult.
Yes,
I'm on the wait list because I'm like I have the YA fantasy book subscription now, but I was just about to cancel that because I was like, I don't really read YA fantasy anymore.
That's what we were talking about.
I love YA, don't get me wrong, but
love it.
I just read adult books all the time now because I like to read about some freaky shit, and that doesn't belong in YA, which is fair. And so when I saw that drop by Fairy Loot, I was like, oh, that will make me pussy throb.
Yeah. No, we
and you know those books. You know those books are going to be pretty too.
Oh, I know. Oh my god, I'm so.
And I like that it's a book only, so you just get the book. I do love the Fairy Loot. Fairy Loot has really good like little.
They have cute stuff.
Yeah. Their stuff is always so cute, but I'm like, I just want the book. Like, I just want the book.
Because now I have like more stuff than like I know what to do with.
Yeah, that's how I feel, and I'm like, I don't want a pillowcase.
Yeah,
I
have 4 pillowcases, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with these. I don't have this many pillows. I have a lot of pillows, but
I think my most used item is a book sleeve that I got. It's like from the Bookish box. This book sleeve I have used every single day. I use it to go to school when I bring my books to school.
Love that. We love things that are practical.
It's so like, I will say the Bookish box, I have their YA. I actually canceled the subscription, but they're doing like Scarlett St. Clair. She has her new book coming out in December, and they're doing the adult box for it. So I definitely like got the adult subscription box.
Yeah.
Because apparently that one has been popping off recently for the Bookish Box adult boxes. So
yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm really
Yeah.
excited. Do you know when, okay, this is more of a specific guild question since you're also getting the Bookish Box edition. Do you know, I know it's supposed to go on sale in a couple of days.
August 27th.
Aren't they going to like show us the cover before it goes on sale? Like, are they going to do like
Sometimes
a
they
review?
don't. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. So for like the From Blood and Ash, they didn't show the cover at all until like a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
And so they don't. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like
What?
sometimes they will give you, sometimes they won't.
But if you do like look at the description of like what's going to be in the box and what artists are doing what, you can kind of see. So like if monoline art is doing like the foiling,
It's gonna be
you know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
You know it's going to be good because I think it's a she, does
they
do like they do an amazing job on like a lot of their like, well, their name is monoline art, so a lot of their line art is very good, and it looks amazing on foiled edges and foiled book covers. So if they're doing the foiling, you know it's going to look pretty.
So question, Kayla, did you read From Blood and Ash?
Yes.
Did you like it?
So I love the first two.
Yes. Yeah. The third one is a middle book. That's what that is. It's a middle book where it's like that weird but so my question is, are you a Cassian or a Castile girl?
Oh fuck. Okay, so fuck. I don't Cassian.
Okay.
Cassian. Okay. Because at the end of the day, for me, like, I would have said Castile, but like I hated the direction his character went in the third book. Like I don't. I'm like, no, I can't. Goodbye, sir. In the first two, I was like, hi. Hello.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I can't. I don't know. I just don't like. For me, and this is just me and my issues, but I'm like, I need to not know if you like me. And if you like me, I need to be like a golden retriever. You know what I'm saying? Like Cassian's kind of like a golden retriever. Like it's very obvious he likes Nesta. But he still can like hold his own with her. But like I just hated how I felt like Castiel kind of turned into like a simp. Like he just talked about
Oh, he's a heavy simp.
And that's not for me. I'm just like, I need you to be like,
I was asking that because I got the fairy loot. I got the fairy loot special editions of the From Blood and Ash, and those are amazing as well. Like how
I got all three, so
yeah, like I got the Bookish Box and fairy loot editions.
I got the Bookish Box, the fairy loot, and the Illumicrate. So
I mean, we could be spending money on worse things.
I mean, like, I could be spending money on drugs.
Yeah,
I could.
Let's just put that out there.
Yeah.
I could be intoxicated all the time. I could be like, I could be out of it. But no, I'm reading heavy smut reverse harems is what I'm reading.
You can go from being fucked up all the time, going out and partying with your friends, which is like, go off. That's what you want to do. Yeah. Don't hurt other people. But I'm like, but I like to spend my books on, my money on special editions of books.
Yeah, I'd rather be like fucked up in the head in my own home, It is what it is.
That's so funny.
To each their own. To each their own, babes.
Exactly.
But yeah. Okay, so to kind of wrap this episode up, we do have a couple of announcements. I keep saying that we're going to do these announcements at the beginning of the episode, and we literally forget.
We're going to do a couple of announcements right before the episode. This happened with Calvin. This literally happens with every single person. It's like, oh, we're going to do it in the beginning, and then we start the conversation off immediately, and then we're like, we have no time. I'm just sitting here like, we forgot. Like, I don't know. I like zoned out for a hot second. I was like, we forgot once we started.
No, it's fine. But to kind of give our listeners a quick update, we will be doing a September launch for our shop. We will have our enamel pins for Cassian and Castile up again. So if you did not get to pre-order them, you will get to order them in September. We also have a couple of sticker launches that we are going to do. We're going to do do we want to say what books?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we are going to be doing a couple of books
that we've
featured
talked
as
about
stickers
on the podcast
that have been featured. So we're going to do the Kiss Quotient. We have a couple of very, very adorably cute stickers that I'm in love with. I literally drew them out, made them in a day, and like sent them to Maggie, and she was just like, how about we do this? And I'm like, okay, literally done in a day. I love them so much. I can't wait for you guys to see them. They're so cute if you have read the books. We also have The People We Meet on Vacation, which is another book that we have featured on this podcast, and Get a Life, Chloe Brown, from the Brown Sisters trilogy. So if you guys like those 3 books, we will have stickers specifically for each of the little books in our shop coming mid-September. Look out the first week of September for any like photos that we post for you guys to see what they are. And our enamel pins will be coming in like a week, so we'll be able to show you guys what they look like,
and we'll be able to ship them out to the people who have bought them. But yeah, our enamel pins we'll send you one, Kayla. We'll send you one. I'll get your address. We'll send you the Cassian one.
That's part of the reason why I'm glad Maggie asked. I was just like, Maggie, make sure you ask which one does she like better, so I could send her. So we could send her.
Okay.
Yes.
Ultimately, I think Grace, maybe we're on the same page with this. I'm not sure, but I'm Team Hunt more than anything.
Heck yes, yes.
Okay, quick question. Do you think they're endgame?
Yes, I could literally have made a whole episode about this alone.
Don't worry. You know what?
If you want to do Crescent City 2 with us, you can. We'll invite you back on to talk about Crescent City 2.
I would die because I have the most to say about that. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. We're going to have so much fun with that. We have to talk about that. There's so many different things, you know. Yeah. We already got the special editions locked in.
I know,
Let me get my...
I need to take away my credit card, please.
I just need the Target edition because, you know, that one's going to be a good one. So we will see. Don't worry. I have some like what is their ship name? It's not Brunt, is it?
No. Brunt. That is all I'm gonna think of now. So that's how they're known.
Because it would be Heist. Would be like the other Heist.
Or it was Heist and Quint? Is it
like
Quint?
Quinlan? No.
That's just her last name.
That's just her last name.
Anyways, it's gonna be Brunt. That's what I'm gonna call it.
Yeah, that's it. That's final. That's how they're known.
I am doing this for like a couple of my fellow Brunt lovers and Endgame lovers. I do want to do like a quick a t-shirt that says like Endgame and like a Hunt thing. So
that's how
I'll keep you in mind.
Like I will literally die on this hill.
Oh, you cannot have that much chemistry and that much like emotional connection. And they haven't even had sex yet.
No, I know. I could literally talk about this forever. So really, I can't wait until we get to talk about Crescent City 2, where I can be like, I told you so.
I am so excited for Crescent City 2. Like the cover, I can't wait to see the cover. Like the guy who did the original cover, like,
this art is absolutely stunning. If you
and it's different. It's different from her other books too. So it's like
it's so good.
It just feels mature. It feels so mature.
For sure.
And I kind of like the color scheme that it's going in. Like every book is kind of having. I kind of like these colors better than like, you know, the rebranded ACOTAR ones because that's a little too neon-y for me. But I like these rich bold colors because I was just like, it feels mature.
Fantasy.
Like
it feels like an adult fantasy book.
Definitely.
For sure.
Well, thank you everybody who has listened. Shout out to our YouTube listeners. Shout out to our Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and then all of you other ones that listen on other platforms.
Yes.
It's kind of just under the other category.
Thank you to Kayla for coming on. We loved having you. We love these hot takes.
Yes.
you. I love
We
being
love
on. You guys
dissing
are fab.
men.
Oh yeah, literally. I'm like, this is just an episode about shitting on men. No, I'm just kidding. We love you for the men that want to, actually listen to what
We love men, but we don't.
We love men.
We love men, ... but we don't.
But not.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you in the next one. Next week will be Alia, from Alia Reads, on TikTok. So she is gonna be our next guest, which getting the time zone from New Zealand to Central Time was such a struggle.
I bet. That's
so it's gonna be like
a good one.
it's gonna be like AM for her and then like nighttime for us.
PM for us.
I'm so excited for that now.
That'll be awesome.
So we'll see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your evening.
Bye, guys.
Bye.